P.O.P podcast. Let's go. The P.O.P podcast. Let's go. The P.O.P podcast starts now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the P.O.P podcast, where we delve into the latest trends and insights in the world of orthodontics. I'm your host, Jason Sirotin, with my co-host, P.O.P Managing Director, Scott Haley. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Michelle Shimmin. Michelle is the founding partner and business analyst at Shimmin Consulting. She's here to share her expertise on managing orthodontic practices and the importance of financial protocols. Michelle, welcome to the party. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I feel really honored to be a part of your podcast today.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for being here. Scott has spoke very highly of you. We've worked together, although not personally, through my other company, Brain Bites Creative. Scott, how did you and Michelle connect? And it seems like there might be a story there.
It feels like there's a story. There's always a story with when we get someone on the P.O.P podcast. But, as we were getting things rolling with P.O.P, and, one of the questions we ask our doctors is like, hey, what is something cool that we could add to our platform in terms of providing services for doctors? And, the big thing that kept coming up was like, hey, Scott, if you could solve, there's always like 3 problems that are white whales that doctors bring up with me. And one of the big white whales they brought up was like, you know what? It would be really cool if we had a solution around the financial insurance coordinator role. And, I had come across Michelle. We had many conversations, and then there formed the partnership of Shimmin Consulting and our doctors at P.O.P. So, Michelle, thanks for coming on. I always enjoy our conversations. And why don't you give our audience a little bit of a sneak peek about yourself and your group, and give us some Michelle insights.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So, as the owner of Shimmin Consulting, our firm is going on almost 13 years old now, and I've been in orthodontics for 34 years. I am an RDA and a clinical trainer and have done every position within the practice except for that of orthodontist. I know the business of orthodontics inside and out, and have had the privilege of advising and coaching practices all over the world on those business systems and structures and standard operating procedures, if you will. We are based out of Seattle, Washington. I have a remarkable team of 12 amazing experts on my team that I'm very blessed to be alongside, have alongside me as we train practices and support what their internal systems are for efficiency, profitability, just to really ensure that all of the time, energy, and resources put into running their business are maximized and effective. I never really had a desire to pursue virtual solutions for practices. I am a coach and an advisor. That's my passion. I look to inspire and motivate not only doctors and practitioners on their business model, but the team members internally as well. And we're very good at what we do with that. As it did with almost every business out there, COVID caused us to pivot and adjust. And one of those pivots was to actually provide a solution to the financial coordinating position in practices. And that was out of a desperate necessity with what COVID, gave to doctors. Everybody experienced it with team members just leaving and not coming back and not having one of the most important roles in their business, and that is that of financial coordinator. So out of that necessity, my team and I stepped in and was providing those solutions in that role for those doctors. And it's really just continued to explode in the sense that it provides an awareness to practices on actually not only how much is not being done around the financials within their practice and how much revenue is actually left on the table, either out of an unawareness, out of a lack of training, a lack of accountability, but also so many missed opportunities around the financial coordinating position. So my team and I, though we have an entire department at Shimmin Consulting that's all they do all day long is actual financial coordinating for practices. and they're experts on it. They're experts in all the softwares. We don't limit ourselves to a specific software because we recognize that every practice and their scenario is unique. And so we're really proud to provide those solutions. And it's been a remarkable solution for practices. So around our partnership, Scott, and the ability to be able to support P.O.P doctors, it's something that can bring a level of expertise and experience into the practice that has worked in hundreds of orthodontic practices and seen all scenarios around the financial coordinating position specifically. So it's not just having one or two team members that might have many years of experience, but experience with one or two offices and only doing it this way and only understanding it from this aspect. So it's a safety net, it's a security, and it confirms and allows all channels of revenue and opportunity to come through the practice. And that's what we've been able to provide practices, and practices are seeking it out and really grateful and appreciative of it and seeing the growth. And especially around a time this year when, the national average is not growth within the practices. It's time to ensure that you do not have any holes in the bucket of your business and that you not only are repairing but fixing those. And the financial coordinating position is the part of the practice that there's a lot of opportunities that most practitioners don't even realize that they're losing out on.
Do you think there's like a psychological fear for doctors, not just doctors, but business people in general around money, and that makes people miss out on these opportunities? And do you have any tips for people to, push that aside and just start to dig in?
Yeah, great question, Jason. So yes, anytime you're dealing around financials and money, there is definitely a discomfort around talking about it, around measuring it. And specifically when, there's a lot of components to that question, Jason, but when we're talking about supporting our patients' compliance with their financial contracts, that in and of itself takes a comfort and a confidence level to be able to support those agreements that we have set up with our patients. We're lending money at 0% interest. There is no other industry or no other service or product out there that you can have that type of a loan at 0% interest. And so to have the approach of simply wanting to encourage and support and facilitate our patients' compliance with their financial agreements is a different approach to just having this very rigid, hard approach to saying you signed this, you owe this. And when we talk about the discomfort around doctors specifically, I don't specifically know that answer, but what we experience is one, a lack of awareness for what they should be monitoring and watching, a lack of awareness of how those holes can happen. For instance, insurance companies are in the business to make money, and you can have a benefit that's active that is automatically paying on a benefit, and you have to still babysit that on a monthly basis, because you will find as you dig into the weeds a little bit, you'll realize at the end of a quarter, at the end of a year specifically, you'll notice that these even auto payments from insurance companies that we've submitted the claim, they've been making these auto payments, they stop paying because they want their margins to look better for their investors. And most of the time, practices are not monitoring these very tightly and don't catch it soon enough. And when we do, we call them directly and we say, where's our payment? Oh, I'm missing part of that claim. No, you're not. You've been paying for 7 straight months on that claim. Okay, let me get that out. So you experience it firsthand, really their effort to not have to pay out on that benefit. And when you aren't managing those reports tightly and understanding exactly what your rights are and what you can facilitate, by the time we catch it, oftentimes it's too late to be able to pass that over to the patient, and the practice ends up writing it up. So it's remarkable the percentage of revenue that's left out on the table and or that's not collected in practices.
Yeah, and a lot of it seems like, because I've heard this in a couple conversations, that doctors are struggling with reading and managing past due reports correctly. Can you elaborate maybe on this and why it's a common issue and how it affects practice management? You kind of hinted on it a little bit in that last point.
So there's a couple of metrics we look at, and it's 4 metrics. It is the number of accounts on the patient side that are past due, the dollar value of those accounts on the patient side that's past due, the number of accounts on the insurance side that's past due, and the dollar value of those accounts on the insurance side past due. And all 4 of those metrics, we want that to remain below 3 to 5%. So number of accounts below 3 to 5% and dollar value of those accounts. Those are 2 different problems. If you've got a high dollar value and a low percentage of accounts, that means you have a few accounts that aren't paying anything on. If you have a high number of accounts and a low dollar percentage in value in that, you most likely have automatic charges that are posting on the ledgers, like missed appointments or broken brackets, and nobody's collecting on those. And so you've got those metrics that are going to be the initial piece that you want to start to manage and measure. Now, typically it's a lot higher than 3 to 5% for sure. And we want to manage what those credits are on those ledgers as well. And to go back to the beginning part of your question, Jason, we want to ensure that the delinquency reports within your software are accurate. When we go in and we do audits within practices, oftentimes the team members or financial coordinator will say, oh, well, that one actually isn't past due because the insurance pays annually. Well, it's reflecting past due. And so if you don't have an accurate delinquency report that is actually showing you who is truly delinquent, you cannot target your efforts, your time, energy, and resources accurately, effectively, and profitably. So, the time for financial coordinators should be managed efficiently, and they have a lot on their plate. That's an extremely important role, one of the most important roles in the practice. And there's such a high percentage of practices that are embezzled from their team members because there's such a lack of knowledge of what's going on internally in the practice around those financials. It's not just the piece of paying bills and your accounts payable, but it's where are you leaving revenue on the table in that area. So it starts with verifying insurance correctly, Jason. It's not just calling to verify, is that benefit active and what is the dollar amount? They have $1,500. No, we need to know exactly what percentage is paid at bonding. Are they monthly, quarterly, biannually? How do they pay? Is it manual or automatic? So, and then when you know that very accurate, detailed information on the benefit, you set up the ledger and the contract accordingly. And then you allocate the monies owed properly, both to the patient side and how you can expect your insurance. So that when a month report reflects past due, you're calling them immediately. And you are resolving what that benefit should look like and the revenue that should be coming into the practice right now, and not taking a chance on limiting your timely filing and what you're able to then pass over to the patient when in fact they don't. They may have lost that benefit or it's not active anymore.
Absolutely.
I got a quick question for you, Michelle. I've been around the industry a long time as well. And, we always talked about the roles in the practice, and there was always front desk and, TCs and financial coordinators and office manager, right? And other ones besides those. But seems in recent years, there's been talk of having an insurance coordinator and a financial coordinator in a practice. Is that a thing, or can you kind of give? Is that a new trend that we're seeing, and what's the reason for that?
Absolutely, great question, Scott. So the answer to that is yes, and the reason behind that is twofold. People are recognizing the importance and the significant time it takes to manage insurance companies. So it's probably a combination of insurance companies needing more management, and not just simply paying the benefit. It also is that practices are running much larger than what they typically have been doing and producing in the past, and realizing the importance of managing that role tightly. So yes, depending when you get into a practice that's upwards of, 2 million in production, you could benefit from an insurance coordinator. Now, I don't know that necessarily means a full-time financial coordinator and a full-time insurance coordinator, but yes, you really need to spend time on the phone. When you're verifying, when you talk about verifying insurance benefit, that is so, it takes so much time. You have to call these insurance companies. There's a lot that you can do on portals, absolutely, but we cannot always get all of our questions answered, and that thoroughness that we require to set up those contracts accurately and those financial arrangements accurately from the beginning. So oftentimes, practices will just set up a contract based, they pay $1,500, so I'm automatically going to put 25% of bonding and monthly automatic. Well, insurance companies pay all different. And so then what they'll do is they'll wait until they get their EOB, the first EOB, and then they'll say almost none of them make the adjustments to the accounts when they get that EOB. But that's not efficient. Set it up correctly from the beginning. So there's a lot of time management with insurance companies, ensuring that you're getting those payments, ensuring that they're accurate, filing the claims correctly. There's been a lot of hiccups with claim filing, and this year alone with what has happened with a few of those processors, and that took us back to doing it manually for quite a while. So practices, believe it or not, we're actually not doing that and just waiting for the software to fix and correct, and it's still going on. So, yeah.
And you probably have different levels of capabilities and competence with staff, right? I mean,
exactly. That's exactly right.
And this is what you guys are doing every day. This is their jobs versus, hey, I'm answering the phone and I'm also the insurance coordinator and I'm also the financial coordinator, right? I mean,
we've got decades, 2 decades. 100 years combined. If you got 5 team members that have 20 and 30 years experience in orthodontic financials, absolutely. It's a remarkable amount of experience. And what's important is team collaboration. It's a uniqueness to not just have one person doing this role, but to have a very collaborative team of experts. When we dealt recently or this year, and most practices did, that Change Healthcare issue that was faced with processing those claims, to be able to come together and collaborate on the best, most efficient, effective solutions and how to do that and what the challenges are and what the fixes are with the different softwares, there's a value to having that expertise on board with you. And the return on the investment to have that kind of expertise supporting a practice is remarkable. And that's something that I'm a very authentic, true person that I can get behind, and I'm 100% confident in, and I'm very proud of with our team.
So you've been doing this a while, Michelle. I think you said you've been in business for 12 years, right? You're dealing in a subject that sometimes can't be, sometimes not too exciting, but you've been very successful with it. I want to encourage people to go check out your website, go to orthoconsulting.com. But I wanted to ask, what do you do? What's the secret for you on being successful in this business and getting people excited about it and showing ROI? Because it's clear you do that. Your clients are uber successful, and I think that'll help people understand the value that having someone like you in their corner can bring.
So, yes, I've been in orthodontics for 34 years. The firm almost 13 years old. However, my background is actually in psychology. I thought that I was going to be a counselor. Ended up getting married and having a family and staying in orthodontics, which has really shown remarkable success in merging those two industries. And I think you touched on it, Jason, when you said, how can you, I talk about influence. I train a lot on influence and communication, because really as a coach and as an advisor, you get the greatest results when you get the buy-in from those that you're partnering alongside. So on the consulting side of it, Shimmin Consulting partners with our clients, and we fully commit to customizing solutions and our approach to even our sessions to the uniqueness of not only every practice, but every team member within that practice. We train on interoffice communication and management and leadership and psychological sales, truly the depth of influence to those that you're interacting with. On the financial side of it, that's something that's really exciting to me because there's no perception there. Metrics don't lie. Numbers do not lie. So it is very, very black and white and very easy to show the return on what the efforts and focus are for practices. That is remarkable. But it's interesting, we have worked with practices that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue sitting out there that's not being addressed because a claim has been sent and it's just been left. And so to come in and to really audit and recalibrate and correct all of that and reestablish a new foundation that the practice can actually launch off of, the doctor feels so armed and prepared because you can very easily identify the opportunities available, and you can also identify the areas of focus that we need to triage our efforts in. And that's what's most important in running a business. Our goal and our commitment is to work smarter and not harder. We don't want to simply add work to the team members and the doctors, but they're working hard, and we want all of those benefits and what's owed them to be reflective of how hard they're working.
Listen, folks, don't leave money on the table and be armed and prepared with your finances. Go to ortho-consulting.com. And how can people reach out to you, Michelle, if they want to get directly in touch?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate that. You can reach me directly on our website, which is orthoconsulting.com or ortho-, both of them work. And my direct email is my name, Michelle, at orthoconsulting.com. And they can reach me directly there as well. I would love to have a complimentary assessment Zoom to be able to talk about what their pain points are, what my team and I can do to support them, just make their lives easier. And most of the time with orthodontists, they say, I just want to be an orthodontist. All of these stresses and the weight I'm carrying on my shoulders, and that's what we thrive in. We love to provide the solutions, the operating procedures, the clarity that really delivers the highest level of accountability. And the doctors actually feel such a relief because they don't lose that accountability from the team members, but we support minimizing the need for micromanagement, and that takes a tremendous weight off of the doctor's shoulders as well.
Love that.
Michelle, I just got to say, I can feel your passion through the screen, right? Like your advocacy for the doctors is unbelievable, right? Like it's like you almost care in some cases as much or more than they do about certain aspects of their business. Your reputation's unbelievable. It's such an honor that you are one of our consulting partners at P.O.P. It's funny. I was on a call with a doctor that just joined our group the other night, and I talk about what our services are and all that stuff, and I brought up what you do for our doctors, and it was like a quick pause, and it was like, oh, that sounds interesting, right? This doctor was right at the beginning of their journey in starting a practice from scratch, So it's interesting because it seems to me that the doctor, and we have a lot of doctors in our group that are in that well above $2 million point, but this is one of these newer doctors. It seems like and it's really, let's call it what it is. It's outsourcing, right? And, which is a huge buzzword in our industry and ways that other companies have utilized it. We want our private practice doctors to be able to start being at that level of sophistication. But like when the phone, let's dig in a real quick here at the end, like what are the reasons that they're calling around those financial services? Is it because I'm overstaffed, someone left, I just can't find the right person? I mean, what is kind of the watch outs for these doctors that are like, hey, I'm in that position, so maybe I should give you a call?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question, Scott. So in all transparency, and I encourage your doctors, we really are are so supportive of what you guys are doing for your P.O.P doctors. It really is a remarkable opportunity for them. And so I encourage your doctors to reach out to my team and we'd be willing to do, a quick overview and quick audit, share the screen with them, run through some of our reports and just give them a quick overview of what we're identifying, because when doctors typically reach out to me, they're feeling a pain point. And in all transparency, by the time the doctors are feeling that pain point, there's a lot more going on under the surface that they're not even aware of. As business analysts, that's our job to be able to identify and understand what that is and provide the solutions for them. But to go back to your topic about my passion for orthodontists, they are so committed and so driven and have been through so much schooling, so much education, so much drive to start a business or purchase a business. Like, it is a remarkable type of individual that finds themselves in this situation. And it's so discouraging to me to see that there's areas that open them up for not only risk, but definitely not to fully maximize everything that they have spent years and sometimes decades setting up for themselves. And so I love nothing more than to really be able to set up solid, effective, accountable systems that allow them to be the orthodontist and enjoy doing what they love to do, but that they're still protected. And they have those gatekeepers in place to ensure that they are not going to be taken advantage of and that all of their hard work is going to pay off because they're going to be compensated for that hard work. So another reason they often reach out to me is they do feel like they're working so hard, but they're not making the money that they feel that they're, the scale is not balanced for them in that sense. And that's typically true by that point, and they aren't aware of what the holes in the bucket of their business are. And that's what we pride ourselves in being able to support them with.
I think that the interesting observation as someone who's visited with hundreds of orthodontists and been in hundreds of orthodontic offices, you walk into an office and you can sense a lot of times like, oh, this is an outlier practice, or you do these things. And then when you start investigating and spending time with these doctors, there's always some common threads. And I think the common threads a lot of times, not to take anything away from Brain Bites Creative or if they have a sophisticated SEO plan in place, that's important. But the thing that always comes through to me is like, I'll ask if they use a consultant or if they've put some polish on their systems. And I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, the practices that seem like they're the ones that are just crushing the market or their area, they've actually invested in those things in their practice. It's really uncanny.
It's a coach and it's a trainer. Most sports teams are run better than orthodontic offices because they have playbooks, they train, they condition, they have coaches. They know where their goals are and they know what's in it for them when they cross that finish line and cross that finish line first. So that's a lot of our philosophy is to provide that coaching and that conditioning and that training and those playbooks for the practices. Absolutely. But you'd mentioned outsourcing, and we are finding a lot of people we have a number of startups that have reached out to say, I want as few employees, W-2 employees as possible. This is my direction. This is my business model. This is what I'm setting up. So they come to us from the very beginning without even feeling pain points or, having challenges, and can ensure that it's set up correctly and it's going to run smoothly. And they are setting their business model up that way. So that's not uncommon now either.
Yeah, they're doing big. I can guarantee you that they do it in big business. For one thing, and our, the DSOs and OSOs are certainly outsourcing a lot of work inside the practices as well, because it's a model that makes financial sense, and the results speak for themselves a lot of time.
Exactly.
Scott, tell us how people can find them if they're a POP partner on the POP website.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about our group, you certainly can just go to POP-Ortho, schedule an intake call. There's a cool interview on there with our 4 founders that talk a little bit about, how this thing got started and where it's going. As we speak today, we're currently at, I believe we're at 65 practices or LLCs with over 100 orthodontists, well over 100 locations. And so it's been really, really rewarding to be able to connect with doctors that are like-minded, private practice owners. And like I said, it's similar to you, Michelle. It's been rewarding to see the the fruits of our labor and be able to deliver some exciting results for our members.
And if you are a P.O.P partner, you can go on to the portal and you can connect with partners like Brain Bites Creative and like Shimmin Consulting. We greatly appreciate your time today, Michelle. Remember, go to pop-ortho.com and go to Shimmin Consulting's website. It's pretty easy. What was it? It was ortho-consulting.com. A great website. It's very easy to remember. On behalf of Premier Orthodontic Partners, I'm Jason Sirotin. Scott, thank you. We'll see you all next time.